Kuru. Let's say you've downloaded a free game from a shady website, but it turns out to be a virus and now it's corrupting all the files on your computer like it's on a mission to ruin your day. Kuru is similar to that computer virus, except instead of corrupting files, it wreaks serious havoc on your brain, causing you to laugh uncontrollably like you're auditioning for the role of Joker. This mysterious laughing sickness only affected the Fore people of Papua New Guinea because they feasted on the brains of their dead relatives as a way of honoring them. Unfortunately, some of the brains they ate were infected with prions, which are mischievous proteins that start a rebellion in the brain and convince all the other proteins to fold abnormally. Think of them as the rogue recipe in a cookbook where every meal just goes wrong, except instead of a salty, half-cooked turkey, you're left with a tangled mess of brain cells that leads to serious neurological problems. You'd start feeling clumsy like a baby deer learning to walk. Then it escalates to uncontrollable shaking like your entire body is imitating an earthquake. Next on the guest list is difficulty swallowing, then the creepy laughter, and finally strolling into the afterlife with the Grim Reaper. The bad news is Kuru has no cure, but the good news is that it's become a very rare disease ever since the government banned the cannibalistic rituals in the 1950s. Turns out putting a do not eat sign on relatives worked wonders for disease control, kinda like swapping out mystery meat for a safe, standard menu. Fatal familial insomnia, FFI. Picture the worst night you've ever had trying to fall asleep. You're tossing, turning, and counting sheep until you eventually sleep. Fatal familial insomnia is kinda like that sleepless night you had, but cranked up to 1,000 because you never get to the falling asleep part. It's like your brain's sleep switch is officially broken. Fatal familial insomnia is a super rare, genetically inherited disorder that's basically insomnia on steroids. It's caused by a rogue protein called a prion, which goes to the region of the brain that controls sleep and messes it up like a toddler with a permanent marker in a white living room. You'd start to experience a little anxiety, some night sweats because of difficulty sleeping, and your muscles twitching on their own like they're trying to make a run for it. Over time, this leads to the ultimate sleepless situation. No matter how much you want or need sleep, it just doesn't come. It's like your body has given up on sleep altogether. Over a few months, your brain would feel like it's permanently running on a 3-day caffeine bender. Hallucinations, confusion, memory loss, they all kick in like your brain drank a warehouse full of Red Bull and is now malfunctioning. Doctors don't have a cure, so once FFI kicks in, you're unfortunately in for the ultimate never-ending wake-up call. Wegener's granulomatosis. To paint you a picture of Wegener's granulomatosis, picture your immune system as a security team that's supposed to keep out the bad guys, like bacteria and viruses. But in Wegener's granulomatosis, this security team has gone rogue. Instead of checking IDs, they're flipping tables and tearing down the place like it's an unwanted guest. This is basically what happens inside your body. Instead of protecting you, your immune system is out for blood, literally, and starts attacking your own blood vessels with the utmost concentration in the nose, sinuses, lungs, and kidneys, like they've got a personal vendetta. It's the ultimate betrayal from the bodyguard that was supposed to keep you safe. This attack causes inflammation and little clumps of cells called granulomas to form, which is like the immune system's weird idea of decorating with roadblocks. It's like trying to renovate your house by putting up "Do Not Enter" signs on all the doorways. Not exactly helpful to the contractors. The symptoms usually start like a really bad cold that doesn't go away. It comes with a stuffy nose, sinus pain, and maybe even some nosebleeds, but it can quickly get serious with coughing, trouble breathing, and even kidney issues. It's like your body staging its own little action movie, complete with expressions in all the wrong places. However, with early diagnosis and treatment, Wegener's can often be managed. Medications can help get the immune system back in line, so your rogue security team finally stops demolishing the place and lets you breathe and live a little easier. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS. For Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, it's basically like having a body made of extra stretchy rubber bands that sometimes don't know when to snap back. You see, people with EDS are born with super flexible, bendy joints and stretchy skin like they want to replace rubber bands. And the cause is an inherited genetic glitch that affects collagen, which is basically your body's natural glue that holds together your skin, muscles, bones, and connective tissues. But if you have EDS, it's like that glue is missing a few sticky notes, so your collagen cannot hold your organs together tightly. This This leads to joints that bend too far, skin that's a little too soft and stretchy, and sometimes even blood vessels that aren't as sturdy as they should be. While this can make you a pro at flexibility tricks like touching your thumb to your forearm or bending your joints in ways that make everyone else cringe, these super flexible joints can also dislocate easily and your skin can bruise easily. Simple tasks like standing would feel like your body's version of trying to keep a boil of spaghetti standing upright. It would feel like your joints have a mind of their own, slipping and sliding out of place like they're on a permanent slip and slide. You'd also experience severe heartburn like someone is roasting your heart from the inside out, extreme tiredness, and constant dizziness that turns everyday life into a spin cycle. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS, affects about 1 in 5,000 people worldwide, putting it in that exclusive, rare, but challenging club. Since there's no magic potion yet to make it all go away, the illness can only be managed with physical therapy, being cautious with those bendy joints, and getting pain relief medications for any dislocations or pain. Derkham's disease. Chances are you've had a painful boil on your arm. If yes, you already have a clear image of what Derkham's disease looks like, except the boil is under your skin and the pain is 10 times more. Derkham's disease would suddenly cause plum-sized lumps of fatty tissue called lipomas to start popping up on your arms, legs, and torso like little house guests that refuse to leave. And while regular body fat just chills there quietly, these fatty lumps in Derkham's disease are tender and extremely painful, almost like they're protesting their own existence. Even the slightest touch can feel like someone poured hot, boiling water on your skin, then started scraping it with a sharp knife. This can make simple tasks like moving around feel like you're bumping into furniture with every step. You'd also start gaining weight faster than a kid left alone with a bag of Halloween candy, and no matter how much you eat or sleep, you'd always feel tired and weak, like a phone running on 1% battery all day. Now, the exact cause of Derkham's disease is still a bit of a mystery. Some research points to genetic factors, while others point to immune system issues. It's like the body randomly decided to add some cushioning, but didn't get the memo that you didn't sign up for extra padding, especially when it comes with a side of constant pain. Stiff Person Syndrome, SPS. Stiff person syndrome probably sounds like something you'd get after a weekend of sleeping on the couch, but it's actually a neurological disorder that makes your muscles so tense and stiff that it feels like your body is auditioning for the role of human statue, and it's taken it way too seriously. You'd be unable to walk or move your hand without feeling like you're trying to dance the salsa in a suit of armor. Imagine trying to reach for a sandwich from the fridge and suddenly your muscles lock up as if they're frozen. You can't take out the sandwich, you can't drop it back in the fridge, you're just stuck. On top of those random muscle locks, spasms can ambush you like an overly jumpy cat. It just takes one loud noise, a bit of stress, or a sudden movement like a door slamming, or even someone sneezing. It's as if your body has a hair trigger alarm system, ready to go off at the slightest disturbance, turning everyday sounds into surprise workouts you didn't ask for. The cause of SPS is still unknown, but many studies say it could be an autoimmune condition, where the immune system gets confused and starts attacking the special enzymes essential for controlling muscle movement. This causes muscles to misfire like they're on a strict diet of caffeine and haven't slept in days. SPS is so rare that it affects about 5,000 people in the US every year, but once you're diagnosed, you only have between 6 to 28 years to live. Tay-Sachs disease. Imagine your brain cells are a bunch of little workers handling day-to-day operations. They take in nutrients, process information, and get rid of waste. Now, in a healthy brain, there is a particular enzyme that acts like the janitor sweeping and mopping up an unwanted fatty substance that can build up in the cells so that the brain can keep on working without a hitch. However, in Tay-Sachs disease, that janitor enzyme is on a permanent vacation thanks to a genetic mutation. Picture a workplace where no one ever takes out the trash. Pretty soon, everything piles up and the whole system starts to break down. That's basically what happens in the brain cells of someone with Tay-Sachs disease. As that unwanted fatty substance builds up, it clogs the brain cells, which leads to severe brain and nerve damage. Tay-Sachs usually shows up in infancy, and for these kids, it's like their little brains are playing the world's worst game of Jenga. Slowly, their development starts to reverse, and complications like muscle weakness, vision and hearing loss, and seizures become their everyday life. Because it's so severe, most most kids don't live past early childhood. It's genetic, so two parents have to be carriers for a child to inherit the disease. In a way, it's like the genetic lottery, but with one of the worst jackpots imaginable: pulmonary arterial hypertension. If you've ever seen a highway traffic jam, you already have a slight idea of what happens in your body when you have pulmonary arterial hypertension. But to have a clearer picture, swap the cars and trucks for red blood cells and the congested highway for narrow, stiffened blood vessels. In a healthy person, blood cruises through the blood vessels, picking up oxygen in the lungs and delivering it to the rest of the body, like a dedicated delivery driver. But if you're among the 1% of people worldwide with pulmonary arterial hypertension, the arteries in your lungs would basically shrink down, turning a multi-lane freeway into a congested, winding back road. Now, blood has to squeeze through a ridiculously tight space, creating a massive traffic jam. Because blood is struggling to move through these narrow arteries, the pressure in them goes up a lot, like someone has turned up the heat on a boiling pot. This puts an extra strain on the right side of your heart. Think of it like a delivery truck forced to make the rounds during rush hour, day in and day out. Eventually, the heart muscle gets tired of hauling blood uphill against this pressure, and it can start to wear out. On the outside, you'd begin to experience a bad case of burnout, like shortness of breath, fatigue, chest pain, and even fainting. Just climbing stairs can feel like you're training for a marathon. It's like your body decided to make every little activity an extreme sport. Pulmonary arterial hypertension can pop up due to genetic factors, birth defects of the heart, or sometimes just as a nasty surprise for no clear reason. It's a rare condition, which is kind of like being in an exclusive club you definitely didn't want to join. Duchenne muscular dystrophy, DMD. For Duchenne muscular dystrophy, picture your muscles as a team of construction workers building a sturdy house. Now, there's this essential foreman named dystrophin whose job is to keep the structure strong and organized. But if you have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, it's like the foreman is on a permanent leave, and without it, the structure won't hold. In muscle terms, this means the muscle fibers start getting damaged over time because they're missing that crucial support. Think of it like trying to build a sandcastle with dry sand. No matter how hard you try, it just won't hold together. So it would become very difficult for you to climb stairs, run, or even just stand up from sitting because your muscles are way too weak to hold you. It's like someone replaced all your muscles with wet spaghetti. As DMD progresses, it affects more muscle groups in your arms, shoulders, and heart, which can lead to heart problems and leave you constantly struggling to breathe like a fish out of water. This condition is caused by a genetic mutation, and only boys get a VIP ticket to this genetic party crasher. However, DMD doesn't just pop up right after they're born. It prefers to hang back and stay incognito until around the ages of 2 to 6. Just when parents are getting excited about their little one's newfound energy and wobbly running, DMD steps in like the world's worst surprise. As they grow into teenagers, their muscles would opt for early retirement, leaving them to rely on extra support like wheelchairs. And by the age of 25, they just check out of life permanently. Leigh syndrome. To paint you a picture of Leigh syndrome, picture every cell in your body as a tiny factory, and it is powered by mitochondria, which is basically like the generator that keeps the lights on and the machines working in the factory. That is, it gives your body all the energy it needs, from blinking to running a marathon. Now in Leigh syndrome, it's like someone threw a massive wrench into the gears of that generator, so instead of providing energy, it just goes into a total meltdown. Think of it as a cranky old power plant that sputters, coughs, and occasionally belches out smoke instead of actually working. This causes energy levels to plummet, which affects the brain and nervous systems first. It's like having a phone battery that drains in 5 minutes flat, no matter how many times you plug it in. The nervous system really starts throwing a tantrum, causing problems with muscle movement, coordination, and even breathing, basically turning every easy movement into a clumsy uphill battle. Over time, kidney problems pop up like unwelcome party crashers. Seizures turn up the volume on the brain's distress signals, and paralysis can freeze up the body's control panel. The cause of Leigh syndrome is linked to various genetic mutations, all of which essentially wreak havoc on energy production. Leigh syndrome typically makes its grand entrance in the first 2 years of life, like the world's most unwelcome surprise guest who arrives early and refuses to leave. And when it gets going, it moves with lightning speed, as most children tragically pass away by the age of 3. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Every year, a whopping amount of 5,000 people in the US alone known, are diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a genetic defect that sends motor neurons away on an extended permanent business trip. You see, these motor neurons are like the little messengers that tell your muscles to move. So if your body is a huge orchestra, then motor neurons are the conductors waving their little sticks, keeping everything in rhythm. But with ALS, those conductors start coming late to work, which makes the music start going out of tune. At this stage, you'd begin to notice small signs like weakness in your hands, tripping over air, and your muscles twitching like they've got a mind of their own. It's like when you're typing on your phone and suddenly every letter you hit is a typo, only you can't just blame autocorrect. Over time, these problems spread, affecting your ability to walk, speak, eat, and even breathe. It's like having the controls to your own body slowly unplugged one by one, while you're watching the whole thing unfold. ALS usually makes its grand entrance for men and women between the ages of 55 and 75, showing up like an unexpected plot twist no one asked for. Once it appears, it usually gives you about 5 years before you slowly embrace the outstretched arms of the Grim Reaper.